I'm the founder and CEO of Zeta Surgical, which is a Boston-based medical device company developing surgical robotics and navigation for neurology and neurosurgery. As a quick introduction to the team, both my co-founder and I met down the Charles at Harvard when we were undergrads, started the company based on some of the computer vision work that we were doing undergrad, and we teamed up with a professor of ours at Harvard Medical School, William Gormley, who's an MIT Sloan MBA alumnus, which is a connection to ILP. Since then, we've been building the company in Boston. We have a small office in London where we're developing a specialized device I'll talk a little more about later. And our team has a number of MIT grads. Roman Stolyarov has a PhD from MIT. We have another principal engineer also who's an MIT grad. So to provide a little more context on our motivation, the motivation behind starting Zeta Surgical for us was to try to make the use of surgical guidance more accessible throughout medicine and surgery. Navigation is something you can think about as a sort of GPS that surgeons use when they have to operate minimally invasively, but it's still a technique which is pretty much reserved for OR anesthesia-based procedures, and our goal was to really unlock its use sort of like the much broader market in drug delivery, emergency procedures, and many others. And we applied some of the computer vision work that we did into that application. So our core platform is Zeta. It's navigation platform deployable at the point of care without the need of using fixation. Anesthesia can be deployed in your chosen point of care environment, ICU, emergency room, with superior accuracy to OR-based systems, and very quick deployment, does not require any dedicated pre-op images. This system is actually FDA approved and is in the market right now in the US, and we are piloting with several top hospitals in the US and sort of looking to expand beyond that. We have two additional products earlier in the pipeline. One is a surgical robotic system that uses Zeta as its sort of brain and controller. And we're also developing a focus ultrasound-based device, which is guided by our platform, which is designed to achieve a temporary disruption of the blood-brain barrier. So you can deliver large drugs into the brain non-invasively, like antibodies, gene therapies, and others using the system. We're launching in surgical space right now. FDA allowed indications are very broad, starting sort of in areas where we think that we would have the biggest value. Looking next into ENT, TMS for depression, and sort of drug delivery with the ultrasound platform in a few years. From an alignment perspective, we've tried to do a good job at keeping surgeons happy, but also making the economics work. And we've really gone out there and we conducted a very detailed marketing study and sort of found that our value proposition was very much aligned with what hospital procurement teams are looking for. And be happy to share much more of this modeling and some of the work done to date here. We've published our research, clinical research in several leading peer-reviewed journals in neurosurgery. And we actually recently completed a first-in-human clinical study in Singapore, where we were able to essentially test the system for the first time on patients. And we really had a very large improvement over standard of care as expected, but we're sort of launching as this is one of our core applications, and excited to sort of replicate some of these successes in the US more broadly. As mentioned, Zeta was initially cleared by the FDA in September of last year, and we received a special 510(k) in Jan. And we're actively interested in filing for regulatory clearance in additional countries and continuing to clear the remainder of our platform over the coming years. In terms of partnership ask, we're sort of at the point in first point in the company's life in which we actually have quite a lot of flexibility in terms of potential collaborations, in the sense that system is in the market. We're very excited to discuss whatever applications you have in mind. This type of platform solutions obviously can be applied in with many different instruments. So one obvious potential collaboration would be to make for medical instrument manufacturer some of your instruments compatible with our platform, so we could co-brand them and co-sell them together and sort of have a navigated version of your existing instruments. We're also actively launching with select partner hospitals, and if hospital group or specific academic group would be interested in joining us as a part of our early program, would be very happy to discuss that. For pharmaceutical biotech companies, I think blood-brain barrier disruption has been a space where we're actually in the process of like building a number of collaborations with leading companies, as using our device as a way to be able to bypass the blood-brain barrier and deliver, drugs like ASOs, antibodies that, have not really worked in the brain very well, but have huge potential. That's another space we could generate preclinical data for you very easily and use that as a checkpoint. And then distribution opportunities. We're in the US at this point, sort of looking to expand beyond the US. So we'd love to sort of do that jump together with another strategic, company or distributor. And thank you so much, and happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Jose. So can you, talking about the US component, can you talk a little more about that commercial rollout that you're thinking and looking for?
Definitely. So within the US, we're in the process of rolling out the system through a curated pilot program that we're doing with existing partners of ours. We're just had our first commercial pilot set up with Mass General, where we had very long-term partners, and it's a paid pilot, but we're working with them very close to generate very high quality clinical data, healthcare economics data, and usage to use that as case studies. And we'll be sort of rolling out with our first 10 hospitals, primarily running the sales ourselves, and beyond 10, we're most likely going to look for a potential collaborator to expand beyond that. Okay, and how is your device a little different from other image-guided systems? Yeah, so it really ties down to the specific indications. The use of navigation right now requires rigid spot fixation, anesthesia. That sort of really limited its use. And the reason for which these systems are tied to those applications is like very much tied to its core underlying computer vision technology. It's sort of system that is not real time. It requires this mapping step to be done once when the patient is asleep in a clamp, and then system assumes there's no movement whatsoever. But similarly to a GPS that needs to be re-updating in real time if you're driving around, our system is sort of really applied this new technology we developed in computer vision and AI, and sort of allow us to really touch indications that have not really been accessible to navigation in the past.